Hey guys, welcome back to the Athletics blog here. This week I'm going to talk about gaining muscle. Okay, this was inspired by a good friend who reached out after seeing an athletic event and said, you know what, I've been training for a long time and I don't feel like I look different. Okay, I'm not seeing the improvements in body composition that I thought I would see this far into my training. Okay, and so I have a theory about what's going on with this person that I'm going to go ahead and share with you, and it pertains to our discussion of how to put on muscle mass. Okay? So now, as we're going to see, it's possible to train heavy and not put on muscle mass. Okay? And so I'm going to kind of talk about that today. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about how we can actually train to put on muscle mass and why that might be different from what this person is doing. Okay? So, in order to gain muscle, we need to recruit as many motor units as possible. That is the most important thing about training that we need to have in place to gain muscle mass. Okay? Now you might be asking yourself, what's a motor unit? All right? A motor unit is the combination of a motor neuron, okay, and the muscle fibers that it innervates to do work. Okay? So your brain uses motor units to send signals, the neuron to send signals to the muscle to do work, to contract or relax. Okay? So when you think about if I'm doing a bicep curl, if I'm going to contract the bicep, that's a motor neuron, or several motor neurons, okay, like thousands of them or millions of them, that are activating to cause the biceps to contract, to pull up the dumbbell. Okay? So now, your muscles are a mix of fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers. You've heard this before, I'm sure. Okay? This is kind of what the visual tends to look like when we talk about it from a scientific perspective. These large circles are your fast twitch muscle fibers. They are very, very powerful. They can move a large amount of load. They're very strong. And they are also very quick to fatigue, so they get tired quickly when they're untrained. Okay? These smaller circles here, those are your slow twitch muscle fibers. They are very slow to fatigue, but they're not very powerful. They don't produce a whole lot of force. Okay? What happens when you lift weights is your body recruits the smallest muscle fibers first. Okay? So it's going to recruit these weaker, smaller muscles before it starts recruiting these really strong, bigger muscles. And we're talking about individual muscle fibers. We're not talking like, oh, it's going to recruit your quadriceps before it recruits your hamstring. We're not talking about individual muscle groups. We're talking about within the muscle itself. Okay? Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Now, we're all predisposed to have a different proportion of fast twitch versus slow twitch muscle fibers. So some of us just naturally carry a larger amount of these big circles, and some of us carry a larger amount of these small circles. All right. Obviously, people that you tend to see be more predisposed to be powerful, better athletes tend to have more fast twitch muscle fiber. People that tend to be more predisposed to be better endurance athletes have more small twitch muscle fiber. Okay? No surprises there. So, back to this idea of when we train, our bodies generally want to do less work, all right? And they're going to find the easiest way to get the work done, so they recruit these smaller muscle fibers first. All right, what happens when we initially start training after never really doing a whole lot of strength training, as you start to get under some heavier loads, these fast twitch muscle fibers that you already have aren't very proficient at doing their job. So let's say you max out your back squat for the first time. You've been strength training for a few months or a couple of weeks, who knows, somewhere in that territory. These muscle fibers, these big ones, are not going to be very good at doing their job. So what tends to happen is we see athletes, let's say you're doing a back squat, like I said, you get into the bottom of that squat, these muscles are trying to fire to do the work, these smaller ones, but they're just not strong enough. They're not capable of creating enough force to get you out of the bottom of that squat. Okay? Then these big ones that were in reserve probably could have created enough force to get you out of that squat, but they weren't quick enough to activate to do their job. Now, down the road, you're going to continue to train heavy. These fast twitch muscle fibers that you already have, that you have not gained since you started training, get better at doing their jobs. Then that's when you start seeing some strength increases. You start to see a performance increase. You get faster, you get stronger, you get fitter. Okay? And it's not because you added muscle, it's because you were better at firing all these individual motor units. Okay? Call this rate coding. All right? It's a scientific term for it. So what does that mean? It means that it is possible to improve performance without putting on muscle mass, which is what I think is happening to this friend of mine. Okay? Now, what do we say after this? We talk about, all right, well, your performance is increasing, but how do we put muscle mass on? Okay? That is about maximum motor unit recruitment. We have to use exercises and rep schemes and rest periods that increase the amount of tension, total mechanical tension that you're creating in motor unit recruitment. Okay? So how do we do this at athletics? How do we make sure that we're programming appropriately so that people can put on muscle mass? All right? We do this by ensuring that when we're prescribing weights to different pieces of our workouts, it's individualized. Okay? So let's say I'm doing a, let's say it's a 3x10 back squat. Okay? When I do a 3x10 back squat and just say, hey, do 10 reps, let's call it at 75%. Okay? Let's say I have athlete A and athlete B. Athlete A is predisposed to naturally be pretty strong as it is. They've been in the gym for a while. They've been training for a long time, whereas athlete B is relatively new. Okay, maybe they just maxed out. Okay. With a new max, generally with a new athlete, they're able to do a lot more reps at a lot higher percentage of their 1 rep max because they are untrained. All right. So they have the muscle mass necessary to move heavier loads than they're capable of doing. They just don't have the coordination to do it yet. Their brain hasn't figured out how to activate all those big muscle fibers. So generally, that athlete here, if I ask them to do 10 reps, they're probably capable of doing a heck of a lot more than 10 reps. All right? Theoretically, this might be the right amount of reps for this weight, but because that athlete is so new, they might actually be capable of doing 15 or 16 reps. All right? So what have I done as a programmer in that instance? I've shortchanged them. Because they're capable of 16 reps, but I asked them to do 10, there's 6 reps they left in the tank there. Chances are they did not recruit all of these possible motor units that are available for work. Okay? So yeah, they did 3 sets of 10 reps, but they didn't get any work done. They didn't actually create enough tension to promote muscular growth. Okay? Whereas my trained athlete, who's been in the gym for a long time, generally speaking, they're more well adapted and neurologically capable, so they're going to be able to probably do fewer reps at higher percentages of their 1 rep max. Okay? So for them, this might be totally appropriate. They might actually not be able to do 10% or 10 reps at this weight. All right, so that athlete, this might be appropriate. They might recruit all of the available motor units during this set for them. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. The point I'm driving at is that in programming, it's not great when you're trying to gain muscle or improve strength to put just a flat amount of reps on a workout like this. All right? So what are the options available to us? What we at Athletics like to use is a concept called reps in reserve. All right, so I'll credit Strength Ratio, who's been a big influence to me, Zach Greenwald at Strength Ratio is a coach of mine. He taught me about reps in reserve. What does this do? Okay, so instead of giving a set range or a set rep range or a set amount of reps on a given part of our workout, instead what you get is the feedback that, okay, you're going to do 3 sets. In each set, I want you to end 1 to 2 reps in failure or leave 1 to 2 reps in reserve. So what does this ensure? This ensures that my new athlete that comes in that's capable of doing more reps at a higher percentage of their 1 rep max, 2 reps in reserve for them at 75%, that might be like 15 reps. Okay? Whereas my experienced athlete who shouldn't be as capable of doing high reps at a high percentage of their 1 rep max, that might be 9 or 10 reps. All right? So we have different people in the gym doing different amounts of reps, but I know that those people, because they're leaving 1 to 2 reps in the tank, are recruiting the same or a similar amount of motor units necessary to promote an actual growth response, to see muscular gains, to see improvements in strength and muscle. Okay? All right, guys, so that's our method that we use at Athletics for going ahead and trying to improve muscle mass in all of our athletes. We use that reps in reserve technique. There are several other techniques that we use as well to increase the amount of mechanical tension and motor unit recruitment. But that in a nutshell, can't really call it a nutshell anymore now that we're 10 minutes in, but that's the general idea of how we program to improve muscle mass. So hopefully you guys learned something about that today. I know it's pretty deep in the science, but hopefully I did an okay enough job articulating that principle. If you guys have any questions about this or anything to follow up on, let me know. If you want a follow-up piece on this, give me some ideas and I'll go ahead and do a video on it. Thanks, guys.